Hey guys, it's Elle. Welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be doing a video where I chat about some emotional romances, like romances that will rip your heart out, throw it on the ground, and stomp on it. Like, I have just been in the mood of reading really emotional, angsty romances lately. So one book in particular inspired this video. So let's dive right into this video with the Grip Trilogy by Kennedy Ryan. So I actually read the prequel book a couple of years ago, Flow, and I loved it so much, gave it 5 stars. Was so excited to start the Grip series, like the rest of the series, but I just never continued on with it because I knew it was just gonna be so sad and just like heartbreaking. So now it is like 3 years later and I finally read it. So this is a trilogy. Flow is the prequel, which I highly recommend reading. It is really good to get some context, especially for the first book. And then it's Grip and Still, and I just love this series so much. So the hero and heroine, Grip and Bristol, have a past. They kind of had a fling once in a while and almost became something, but then something happened and Bristol just kind of shut Grip off, you know, emotionally, and she just felt really betrayed by him. And ever since then, she has just not wanted to go there with him or start anything with him because she is just so terrified of getting hurt. And so now she is moving to LA back from New York. Her brother and Grip are best friends and they are both in the music industry. And so she is now Grip's publicist and agent. And there's just so much tension and angst between them, so much pining. And it's just so sad to see them just like, you know, he wants her so badly and she wants him, but she's just terrified of being hurt again. And it is just, oh, you just want to like shake some sense into both of them. Like, stop messing around, get together. Like, you guys are perfect for each other. And I just love that in romances. And especially the second book is really where it gets even, I think, even more emotional. But I just love the series. I love it so much, and it's just so satisfying when they finally get together. And this also deals with very heavy topics, like this is an interracial relationship. Grip is black and Bristol is white, and there is a lot of, you know, discussion over race and racial profiling, police brutality. So I would definitely check the triggers if any of that bothers you before you read this book, because it is very prevalent throughout the whole series. And I just love seeing all of the conversations in this book, and it was just incredible, and I just love it so much. Grip is so die hard for Bristol. Like, he is like, if anybody messes with her, come to me, I will, you know, rough them up a little bit. And I just love how like alpha hero he was, and just, oh, I just wish I could have a Grip in my life like him, because he is just perfection. I just love this book so much, and it is absolutely incredible. If you haven't read this one yet, you need to, especially the audio is incredible. Then I have The Silent Waters by Brittany C. Cherry. This is another really emotional romance, just a lot going on. So the heroine, when she's younger, she ends up going into the woods because she was going to meet actually the hero. They grew up together, but something happens and she doesn't like meet up with him. She actually ends up witnessing something really, really terrible, and she, after that, she just stopped talking. She was just so scared and just hasn't talked in years because of that. And so now we kind of go through, you know, her life of just staying at home and just not talking. And the hero is actually in a very famous band, and he comes back to town to the present time, and they kind of start rekindling their friendship, which leads to a beautiful romance. And this one is just so heartbreaking because you know as the reader what happened and you know what she witnessed, but her family and the hero don't know that, and it is just so hard to see her struggle so much. And it is just such a beautiful story. I love this one so much. Then of course I had to put Manacled on this list. This is one of the best romances I ever read. This is a fan fiction of Draco and Hermione, and this is in a world where Voldemort won the war against Harry Potter, and he is actually the leader of the wizarding world now. And he has started this breeding program where he will basically breed lower wizards to give them to his, like, you know, people in his army or whatever. So he ends up giving Hermione to the High Reeve, which is Draco Malfoy, and they want her to be impregnated because she was a part of the Order, which was the army that Harry Potter was a part of, but she has no recollection of her memories, and so they think that if she gets pregnant, she will remember a bunch of stuff. And so she's given to Draco, and even when they both hate each other so much, there is so much, like, he will do anything for her, and it is just such a beautiful romance. I only want to say that because then you don't want to know anything else. But this book is just so beautiful, and like, I remember so many scenes vividly of them together, and this book is just so good, so freaking good. Highly recommend if you are scared of the page count. It is like 1,000 pages, but honestly, it doesn't matter. If it's a good book, it's a good book. You don't even worry about, you know, the page number. So get over it and read this book because it is so good. Then I have the Duke and Lady in Red by Lorraine Heath. This is a very angsty historical romance. So the heroine, she's kind of a little con artist, and she will, you know, not be courted, but she's kind of like with older guys in the, you know, society, and she steals their money. And so she's about to do that to the hero until she, you know, has the money, is about to run off to Scotland, and he is like, before you leave, like, he catches her basically. He's like, you know, I will give you that money like twofold if you just spend 1 week with me. And she agrees, and they kind of start their romance from there. But the emotional part of this book is where she is caretaking, you know, somebody very close to her, and it is just really heavy on her heart. And the story is so beautiful and so just like amazing, but that's the emotional aspect of that. So if that bothers you, I probably wouldn't read this one. It's just so good. I would just remember like crying while reading this and just loving it so much. Lorraine Heath knows how to, you know, emotionally hurt her readers, and I just love this one. It's so good. Then I have Tide by Karen Cole. So this first starts off with our heroine being abducted when she is like 5. And so until she's like 11 years old, or maybe it's 16, I don't really remember, but she basically ends up getting saved, and she gets saved by the hero, and she was like locked in a cellar in the woods, like very scary. And so she is still kind of in this like childlike mind state, and it is a year later, and she actually runs into the hero again for the first time. And so they kind of strike up a friendship and start hanging out more. He's very grumpy, she's sunshiny, and that's kind of where their romance starts from there. This one is just really about her healing, and he also has a very tortured past that he, you know, has to heal from. And it is just such a great story. I remember listening to the audiobook of this one and just adoring it. I think this does also have an age gap, but it's not like creepy or gross. And she's also not like falling in love with him just because he saved her. It's more than that, and I just remember loving this one, and it was really, really good. Then I have Forget Me Not by QB Tyler. This is a marriage and trouble romance where they are about to get like divorced. Like the hero's cheated on the heroine, and she's just done with him, but he ends up getting into a really bad car accident, and when he wakes up, he remembers nothing of the past 2 years. Like he only remembers them being happy and in love and married. And when the heroine tells him like, you cheated on me and we're getting a divorce, he's like, why would I would never cheat on you. And it is just such a beautiful story of healing, so emotional. I remember like crying reading this book. It's just so good. Love this one. It's just amazing. Then of course I had to put on here A Love Letter to Whiskey by Candy Steiner. This book is probably the most emotionally damaging book on this list. I remember reading this book in 3 hours because I had to know what happened. And I was like crying the whole time, like flipping through the pages. Like this is like, I have to know what happens because you really don't know until the last page. Like, do they end up together or not? So this story revolves around the hero and heroine, and they have just been, you know, running around each other for years. Like they have always wanted to have a relationship with the other person, but it's never been the right time. Like the first time they meet, he is dating her best friend in high school, but they met before she found out that he was dating her, and then she's dating someone else and he's dating someone else, and they almost are together, but then, you know, something else comes up, and it's just so hard to read sometimes, and you're just like, you guys are so perfect for each other, but you're so stupid. Like, you just need to get together. Like, you want to throw this book across the room. It is just so like angsty and tension filled. It's just fantastic. I loved it, and it's fantastic. Then I have Ashes of You by Catherine Cowles. This is another really emotional romance. So the hero and heroine kind of have a little bit of a past, kind of like she went through something really horrible and he was there and saved her. He's actually the sheriff of this small town, and so now it is 10 years later, I think, and she's coming back to the small town to apply to be a nanny for him and his 3 sons. And he hires her, but he's very apprehensive about it because he knows her history. And they just have such a beautiful romance. This is a forbidden age gap, tortured hero romance. It is just so good. The emotional aspect comes in with his sons. Like, his eldest son is dealing with a lot at the moment, and his relationship with Hallie, the heroine, is just beautiful. I love seeing him open up and heal. And this book is fantastic. It's small town, has some suspense with her past. Just love this one. Then I have King of Greed by Anna Huang. This is another marriage and trouble romance. It's fantastic. So the hero and heroine have been married for 10 years, and the hero just always put his work above everything else until it is their, I think it's their 10th anniversary or something. Yeah, I think it's their 10th anniversary, where he basically forgets their anniversary, and she's like, I am done, we are separating. He is just like appalled that she said that and was like, why? And she's like, you have never put me first with your work. And they both love each other. They obviously have a connection, but she just needs him to realize like work is not everything. So he realizes it real quick, and it is just such a good romance of them coming back together and finding their way back to each other, even though she's just been so hurt by him. He really has to grovel and prove to her that he is worthy of giving it a second chance to. And it is just really, really good. I love this one. I listened to the audiobook, which was fantastic. Love Anna Huang. This one is perfection. Then I have The Summer We Fell by Elizabeth O'Rourke. This I read recently. This is so good. It is a love triangle, new adult romance. So the heroine was in a really bad situation growing up. She was sexually assaulted and just had a really horrible childhood until she ends up getting in with a foster family, and she starts living with her boyfriend's family, who his dad is like a pastor at the local church, and she loves her boyfriend, but she is starting to hang out more with Luke, who is her boyfriend's best friend, and she's having more of a connection with him and really falling for Luke. But she's like, I can't betray, you know, my boyfriend. They've done so much for me. Like, I just can't. And so this book actually flips between the past and the present, and in the present time, they are both, you know, Luke and the heroine are both at 2 different places in their lives. Like, he's a famous surfer and she's a famous singer, and they come back together to this small town because of something, and they get, you know, reacquainted with each other. And this is just such a good romance. I loved all of the angstiness. I loved the love triangle. It was just done so perfectly. I listened to the audio of this one. Fantastic. Highly recommend. I just love the story, and there's also kind of this mystery element that I really enjoyed as well. This one is so good, and it's just so hard to see her, like, you know, putting herself down and not doing what she wants just to please somebody else because she just feels guilty. And I just love this one. Then I have Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This is another small town romance. The hero and heroine were together years ago, but they ended up breaking up because of the hero's addiction. He is addicted to alcohol and drugs, and that's very prevalent throughout the story. So now it is years later, and he is coming back to the small town where they would hang out every summer at his lake house because his grandfather passed away, and in his will he stated that if you sell the house, you will get your shares of this company. And he's also a billionaire, the hero, and so when he gets there, he finds out that the heroine is living there and she does not want to sell the house. So he kind of has to, like, you know, convince her, and they end up spending more time together. And it's like second chance, friends to lovers. A big aspect of this one is both of them healing from their past traumas, especially with his addiction and how it affected their relationship. And the story is just so beautiful about giving someone a second chance, and I love it so much. This one is so good. Then I have Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I almost forgot the author's name. This is another really angsty romance. So the hero and heroine meet on the first day of school when the hero accidentally hits the heroine in like the back of her head with the rogue people. And so he is just like so sorry about it. And she was actually bullied a lot at her previous school, and she is just kind of like terrified of being at a new school. And Johnny, the hero, really takes her under his wing. They become really good friends, but the heroine Shannon is going through a lot at her in her home life. Her father is incredibly abusive to her and her sisters. I mean, I think she only has brothers, and her siblings and her mom, and she's just going through so much, and Johnny is kind of her safe space. And this is just such a beautiful story, very emotional, slow burn, friends to lovers, rugby player. Love this one. It is just so good. And the last book on this list is Requiem by Callie Hart. This is a dark bully romance, kind of, so, in dark academia as well. So the heroine is on a mission to go kill the hero because he murdered her best friend, and so she just wants to kill him and get revenge. And so she ends up infiltrating this boarding school where he is, you know, doing his senior year at, and he is honestly really obsessed with her, and she is just so annoyed and grossed out by him. But they start spending more and more time together, and things lead to another thing, and it is a really good romance. This romance is so much bigger than what I described because it is a major spoiler, but it is so good, and the hero would do anything for the heroine, and they both have gone through so much. It's just fantastic. I highly recommend it. It's really, really good. All right, well, that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed hearing me chat about some of my favorite angsty emotional romances. I love talking about them. This is one of my favorite tropes. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.
I was never the one to write up a song for just anyone. I was always the one to find myself lost in long conversations, oh, 'cause I've always been told that things will unfold if you